Welcome back. It's the Dr. Cloud Show, and I'm so glad that you have joined me on this Friday. Got another week's gone by. How does this happen? I don't know. What episode are we on? We're up in the 60s somewhere since we started this little experiment in lockdown. And I've gotten used to being with you, and I hope you've gotten used to being with us too. This is the show with the coolest audience that exists. Hands down, you guys are the coolest audience because I get to see what you're talking about on Facebook and on YouTube and Instagram, but also I get to see how you're talking to each other. And I spent a few minutes on Facebook last night, and just seeing how you guys support each other and lend some tips of what you've been through and all that. It's really cool to see the sort of the herd forming here. I like to joke that I want us to have a herd immunity, right? They use that term. It's a new term I learned in COVID. Well, they're talking about COVID, we're talking about dysfunction, right? So how do you build immunity? Well, you get antibodies. And the antibodies to immunity are, it's when we have gone through something or gone through something vicariously with someone else, and we have the experience of it by learning, and that turns into wisdom. And that wisdom keeps us safe. It protects us because we know the principles of what does a safe person look like versus an unsafe one. When I'm with somebody that has a character problem and I've got to try to negotiate that in a way where I don't catch it, then here's the stance I take. Or when I've got a goal, what's the way to go about it? See, all of these principles give us immunity against dysfunction. And that's my dream for this audience, for this show, this community we're building together, that we would begin to be able to live in a world where there's so much dysfunction and not get tainted by it, not get sick. So that's what I like to talk about. So if you'd like to talk about that too, you can actually talk with me if you call 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774 on the hour that we're live. If you call 844-940-2774, sounds like an ad, right? There were no animals killed in the presentation of this radio program. 844-940-2774 to get talk. I know I'm going to get a letter about that. I know. Talk to me about whatever you want to talk about that falls in the area of stuff we talk about, life. Also, if you can't tune in to the hour we can call in, you can see it 24/7, and please share it with your friends because we're trying to really build an audience so we can stay here. Okay, so as always, in the beginning of the program, I like to share a little bit about some idea that I'm thinking about and or working with or experience when in consulting with someone. And here is today's thought: you kind of get what you see, or what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what it means is that what we experience in life, what we experience in the world, has so much to do with our vision of what we see. How 2020 is it? How much are we actually seeing reality? Or how much are we constructing reality with our own mental maps and our own pictures of what we think who we are? The pictures or maps of how we've constructed another person, or the pictures or maps of how we have constructed all others. See, what we see is what we get. And what happens is we start to project that map onto another person, and then we start to relate to whom? Not the person, but the map. And now we got a relationship with a map instead of a person. And boy, can that throw us off. The word intimacy, I love one of the definitions of intimacy, when we really connect with each other. Think about this definition. Intimacy is into me, see. Into me, see. That when we are really connecting, you really see into me, not your picture of me, not your assumptions about me, not your judgments, your thoughts, your wishes, even your hopes of somebody I might not be, positive or negative. Intimacy is when we really know another person for the good or the bad. But see, we create maps. And what happens is we operate according to that map. We make decisions according to the map. You know, we've had several calls, even this week, of people that are in have gone through, two or three really difficult relationships. And they said, I just didn't see it early on, or I didn't know what a safe people versus an unsafe person looked like. And they didn't see it. I mean, nobody ever went to the altar. Think about this. Nobody ever got married walking down the aisle, going to the altar, saying, I just can't wait to be at war with you in the attorney's offices where we hate each other. That's not how it starts out. And a lot of times the way it starts out is because we're relating to a picture in our head, not the real person. Or a lot of times there's a actual good person there, but the picture in our head keeps us from having a relationship with that good person because they're telling us our stories about them and judging them and then reacting to our judgments. How many of you out there have been through a broken relationship? And the person you were in a relationship with accused you of being critical, right? Or judgmental or this or that. You weren't feeling that way at all. But it was their own maps of the world that had them see you that way. And then they responded to you that way. One of the most common ones, see this a lot. One of my favorite Bible verses, I know I say that a lot, is it's talking about the generational pattern that God has created in the created order. We grow up, and then what does it say? A man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. Okay, leave mother and father, and then cleave. So you grow up, you leave from that parental relationship, and you cleave to your partner, right? To your equal, right? We're in this together with your spouse, all right? So many times, you know what happens? So many times, this happens with men and women both, but let's just take the guy because I hear about that the most. He's never really straightened out his picture with his own mother. And he might see her as controlling, or he might see her as critical, or whatever it is. But he never leaves that picture and deconstructs that picture to where he can see his wife as who she is. So what happens is, gets into that relationship, and then she says, could you pick your clothes up before you, kind of leave the room? Perfectly normal thing to say. But he hears that because he sees her as a mother, a critical mother. See, well, you don't ever appreciate anything I do. Or you're always criticizing. You're always ragging on me. You're always not relating to her at all. Relating to a picture of a mother that gets projected onto the wife. And it happens in the other direction as well. So then what does he do? He leaves her emotionally. Why? Because he's wired to leave mother. A lot of times you see in marriage, when people get into parent-child dynamics, either she's parenting him or he's parenting her, there will be a leaving because that's what we're designed to do. So, lesson one, don't control your spouse or anybody else you want to have a good relationship with because they're wired by God to become an adult and to leave you. Either detach and spend their time in the garage or the man cave or out with friends or, drunk in front of ESPN or whatever it is, but they're going to unplug or they might go find another person. So that's just a little example of how our view of people organizes our behavior. So who do you see when you see somebody out there, when you're in a relationship? Let me give you one more example. Remember one time a lady that I was treating for some anxiety stuff. And she had a lot of anxiety around a relationship with her husband and all of this. And she was describing how controlling and how dominating and abusive and all this kind of stuff he was. And I said, well, bring him in. Let's talk to him and see what we can do. She goes, oh no, you can't. No, he would overpower the whole situation. He would. I go, don't worry about it. I can handle it. No, bring him in. No. He's too. No, this is. And she actually saw him as so powerful. I said, I'm not worried about it. She says, well, what if he gets angry? I go, I'm not worried about it. Well, I said, was he going to attack me? She said, I don't know. He might. I said, I'll call the cops. Oh, I don't know if the cops can. We're going to have to call the army. Okay. She saw him as so powerful. Yeah, I realize there are dangerous people in the world, but I'm just getting to a point about our views of how we see people. So I talked her into it. She finally comes in. I walk out in the waiting room. There's, the two of them are sitting there. I said, come on back. Okay, this is the guy. He goes, he extends his hand. Hi, Dr. Clown. It's so nice to meet you. I mean, he's the mousiest little guy. I was waiting for Godzilla to come in. But her view of him was so scary because she had this transference when we see people transferring other views onto them of people in our past as so powerful that she was afraid to ever speak her mind. She was afraid to say no. She was afraid to be assertive because of the big picture of how she painted him. Well, we had to alter that picture, and then she could step up and see themselves as equals. And she didn't have to justify her feelings or her opinions or this, that, and the other. When we just realized this is just another person, this isn't a parent. So it's very, very important in all areas of life to get our picture of others in line. No matter how powerful they may seem, they're just a person. And if they get out of line, okay, we'll call the cops. But don't build pictures of humanity that limit you. For example, some people think, well, all people are selfish and they're only into it, for themselves. Well, you know what? That's going to order your behavior. How that's going to order your behavior. If you think all people are selfish and they don't care about you, you will never reach out. But if you think, you know what, some people don't care, but some people do. Then you'll get curious to find the ones that do, because you'll be looking for who's really like what. And I'll close with this example. It's like the guy that moved to a new town. He pulled in a gas station and walked up to an old man working at a gas station. Said, I'm new in town. And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, what do people like around here? The old wise man looked at him and said, well, what were they like in the last place you lived? He said, they were pretty nice. They're pretty good. He said, well, I expect that's how you'll find them here. What a great truth. Because he knew it was more in the eyes of the seer than it was in the people of the town. And you hear people with broken relationships will always describe, well, that church, they are so, or that company, well, they don't really care about or this. There's always a they, the way they see them is so bad that they had to run away from. And they don't have long-term relationships. So let's adjust our vision to where we can intimacy or into UC, where we really get to know people, not on our assumptions, not on our confirmation bias, but who they actually are. Okay, 844-940-2774. And the key word for that is to be curious. Don't judge, be curious. Tell me more about that. Why do you think that? Get to know a person. And then you can have lots of choices on how to respond to what you find. All righty. Let's go to where do we go here? Let's talk to Karen, who's calling us from Fort Worth, Texas. And you know what? We're all family here, right? We hang out every day right here. And my wife, right before I came in, gave me the nicest big bowl of homemade chicken noodle soup. So I'm gonna have lunch with you today. So anyway, Karen, are you there?
I am, and that looks good.
You know what? I wish I could share it with you. Is that weird? Hey,
yeah.
can you guys give me some feedback? Is it rude to eat while we hang out here at lunchtime? I'll stop doing it if you tell me. But if you don't mind, I'll just enjoy it.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Soup's
So
no
what's
good
up?
when it's cold. So I need your help dealing with a critical parent.
Hmm.
For the most part, I manage my time around her. She's elderly. I need to preface with that, but this is
For
not now.
wait. For the most time, you what your time? You said you something.
I try to minimize my time around her.
Minimize? Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
So you budget it?
Um, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah. Well, that isn't
But
that
the
what we
time,
do? Isn't that what we do in every relationship? I mean, we got X amount of time. We have a lot of stakeholders in our lives. Sometimes, you might have a spouse, you got kids, you got an employer, you have friends, you got parents, and we have to assign to the different categories of our budget and time and energy how much we spend with them. That's the way life works.
okay, I can appreciate that view. Some parts of me feel a little guilty about it because it's my mother, but again, it's a critical, judgmental atmosphere, and I internalize things probably more than your average bear. So I own that part of it.
How old
But
are you?
there are some 57.
57. Okay, so how many years has she been your mother?
All of them.
Oh, all 57 years. So what's the right amount of years? How many years? How long is this graduate school that you're in? How many years does it take to truly understand that you're not going to get anything different from her other than criticism?
Oh, no, I understand that really
You
well.
got
I
that?
just don't know how, I don't know how to not let it penetrate my inner being. I know I can't get blood from a turnip. I got that part down. It's the bouncing off of me that I struggle with.
The not allowing it to bounce off of you, right? Okay. So
Also, well,
when
yeah.
what would be an example? What would be an example of her? You know what? Let's role play this. Okay. I'm going to come visit you, mom. I'm you and you're her. Okay. Knock knock. Hey mom.
Hey, come on in.
Thanks. Thanks. How are you today?
Good, good.
Good. So what's happening?
Yeah. Uh, is this not role play right now?
Well, I'm waiting on the criticism.
Oh, well, no, it's not continuous. It's not,
Well,
but
okay, but give me an example of the intermittent criticism. Like what did she say? I want to experience it.
Okay. The last time I drove her to a doctor's appointment, she was criticizing my driving and telling me where to turn and which lane to get into, and I finally said,
Oh, okay.
I need you to stop. I can't concentrate and drive if you're barking orders at me and telling me that I'm doing it wrong. And that
Okay.
turned into, I hope you don't talk to other people like you're talking to me. And
Okay, let's role play it. All right. I just want to experience it. Okay, I'm driving along. Beep beep. Turning. Mom.
Oh, you want me to
talk.
pipe in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm driving. I'm driving.
Another lane. You know, there's a detour up here. If you don't get over right now, you're going to miss the exit. You don't listen to Siri. Listen to me.
Turning on the blinker here too. I'm pulling over. I'm putting in park. Hey, mom. I really want to take you to the doctor. I can't drive and concentrate if you're telling me how to drive and concentrate. So can you stop doing that? And if you do, then we'll keep driving. If not, we're just gonna have to sit here because I really can't drive while you're doing that.
Mm-hmm. That would typically be followed by
follow it. Follow it. Follow it. Say it.
I'm just a bad mom.
Huh. I don't know. I have to think about that. Right now I'm driving. And so, I mean, we can talk about what kind of mom you are later, but right now I want to drive. And so can we go now?
Oh, I want to be as strong as that. I'm going to try.
Okay. Hold on. You can do this. You can do this. All right. But see, what I'm not doing is back to what I opened the show with, I'm not giving that any power. Okay. And here's what I
Right.
mean by that. As long as you are keeping her you're seeing her as someone with power over you, then you're responding, trying to get your power back by justifying or explaining or feeling bad or whatever that is. I'm just going to adjust my view of her where she's a little old lady that just has some issues, and I'm just not going to get hooked. Now, for some reason, and here's the thing I would like for you to go do with a good counselor or somebody. Sometimes
Hmm.
when parents are still able to do this, after we're adults, there's some of the woundedness from the criticism and the voices we grew up with sometimes that's not fully processed. And so
Absolutely.
I'd want you to go do some work on that, because if she's able to push a button, that means that button is still wired to something. Okay. I would like to
Right.
see her. I'd like to see her. Have you ever had, a push button phone that's not plugged into the wall, and you start when nothing happens. Well, if it's not plugged in your head to some past wound, then she can push the buttons and it's really not going to affect you. But I'd go process that stuff more and get it out of your head. And one of the real reasons that's important is it needs to be out there, because once we get it out there, it's not in here anymore. So I would do that, but then I would learn exactly what we just did. I would learn some new skills of how to respond to her that don't include justifying myself or don't include getting hooked. Well, I guess I'm just a bad mom. Well, I don't know. Maybe you think you are, but we can talk about that later if you want. But I got to drive right
That's perfect. That's
now. Try
perfect.
that.
I,
Try that.
okay.
See what happens.
Thank you so much.
Um, I don't mean this. I use a lot of analogies, so I'm not. I don't ever mean this in terms of people and animals, but I always, I always think about, if you got a cat and you got a dog, the cat's going to meow, the dog's going to bark. We can negotiate either. I know how to deal with it when my dog barks. If I had a cat, I'd know how to deal with it if the cat meows. Here's where we get thrown off. If we get surprised that the cat's not barking and we want the cat to bark. And sometimes somebody's a critical person. What do critical people do? They criticize. Cats meow. They don't bark. Critical people criticize. They don't give affirming comments. So if I'm sitting there with my cat wanting them to start barking, I can't believe they're still meowing. I want them to, and I'm getting hooked by all that. I'm going to have a long day. So I want you to get the picture of her as having less power. You have no obligation to justify, to respond to any of that. Just see her as she's just going to do her barking. Now I have to figure out, how close to the barking do I want to get? Well, the less power it has, the closer I can get. And that's what you were talking about. It'll bounce off of you. So practice that, see what happens. Go to boundaries.me and check that out. There's a lot of stuff on there on how to deal with critical people, how to deal with all this kind of stuff. So check it out. Thanks for
We'll
your
do
call.
it.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
remember, you're welcome. I remember one time I was watching a 60 Minutes one time, years and years ago. Um, and it was talking about, helping elderly parents and seniors and all this. And it followed this guy whose mother was in a senior living place, and she was really mad for being there. She's always, she's really, really critical. But he talked about, they interviewed him and said, yep, okay, every day when I leave work, I walk by and I stop by and I visit with mom for 10 or 15 minutes. And they say, well, what, how's it go? What's it like? He said, oh, pretty much I walk in and she yells at me, and, she's upset and wondering why I got her there and all that. And so I take her flowers and, and I'm there for 10 or 15 minutes and I say bye. And so they take the cameras in there. He walks in the place. You look down the hall and there she is sitting in the wheelchair. She's just waiting. And he's going, hi, mom. I can't believe it took you this long to get. And she just starts going, oh, yeah, was a long day, Mom. So how'd it go today? And he's interacting. He's never getting hooked. And she's just, rah, 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 rah. And he go, okay, well, it's been good to be with you. So, got to run, got to get home to family, but I'll see you the same time tomorrow. Have a nice night. And he walks out. He was loving his mom. He was honoring his mom as best as she can utilize. She can't utilize actual conversation that he would have. If she could, he would give it to her. But he's loving her at the level at which she can hang. Thought that was a great example of just, he knew what to expect. He knew how to operate in it. Didn't get hooked by it. Stayed positive. Didn't feel victimized by it. Whatever. Just, that's Mom, but I'm gonna love her as best I can, and then go on. Do it again tomorrow. 844-940-2774. One of my favorite verses. Don't be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. There's a lot of ways we can think about that verse. A lot of good ways, a lot of powerful ways. But here's one of my favorite. Let's substitute the word dysfunction for a second for evil. What happens in a dysfunctional relationship? Well, people are doing fine as long as they're nice to each other. But as soon as one of them drops below the nice line and they give something snitty or a sarcastic remark or whatever, it's an opportunity for you to be overcome by their immaturity and go down to their level of immaturity and respond with something immature back. And now we're in a cycle. But instead of being overcome by dysfunction, overcome dysfunction with being functional and respond from up here, not down here. Because you go down there, we're going to continue to go downward in an infinite regression until we end up in divorce court or worse. Okay. But if we stay up here, I can invite you back up to a good place. That's pretty much all we can do. So don't let people's dysfunction pull you down to the level of the dysfunction. Stay above the dysfunction and invite them back up to a better conversation. Okay, 844-940-2774. Let's go now and talk to Christina, who's calling us from California, looks like. That's where I live. Where are you, Christina?
I'm right here.
There you are. Welcome to the program.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I got you.
Oh, my God. I can't believe I'm actually. I can't believe I'm actually on your program. I hear you a lot, and I love all your videos. So just want to let you know that. And I do recommend anybody watch.
Thank you.
But my reason for the call, I know you have a lot of people waiting, but I have been dealing a lot with, I guess you could say, guilt, hurt, pain after making a last response to an adult daughter that we just did not see eye to eye since she left high school. And I know it has to do with my religious beliefs. And
stop for 1 second. You sort of went out on me. You said you haven't seen eye to eye since she left high school. Is that right?
Yeah, since she left to the Navy after high school.
Okay.
So we've had our, fights, and
what do you fight about?
I have come to the conclusion. Like, for example, like her drinking. She doesn't like the fact that I personally don't allow it in my home. I don't want it here. Pretty much, I told her if she wanted to come with her boyfriend to visit, that's fine, but they would have to sleep in separate rooms. And I did the same thing with my stepdaughter, and my stepdaughter was not happy about it. She pretty much doesn't talk to me because of all my, standards. But I have given these two everything from love, support, money. I've been there a year when they, have no one to talk to. I've been there. My daughter lost my first granddaughter after she did something really to hurt me. I still was there for her. But I think what it is, she said in the text that the reason she did not want me to see my granddaughter was because she said I was being controlling too long and she needs to put a stop to it. And I'm thinking, like, I just handed you over $300 to my granddaughter for stroller.
And you're going to say that to me after she's born because you're upset because I've been controlling too long? So
And
what
the
I did was,
controlling is
I
because
just,
you don't want her drinking at your house. Is that the controlling?
she didn't say how. That's the thing. She didn't say how in the text, but I did try to get it out of her. I said, I don't think this is about my granddaughter, because what happened was she was telling me that I had to get shots and all this stuff before I see my granddaughter, supposedly because I went to Mexico. But yet she had a cousin there that goes to Mexico all the time. They live right by the border in San Diego. So what happened was I kind of started asking her, why don't you tell me the real
did the
reason why you
cousin
don't want to
have
go
whatever
there?
shots she was talking about?
No, the cousin didn't
No.
have to. She told me just me. And this
Okay.
is where I got hurt, doctor. I was so hurt. I felt like I was singled out. And she tried to say, no, you're being really childish. And, this is for, for everybody. And I'm like, but you just said me. You see what I'm saying? And
okay, so
I noticed that.
And you said this is mainly because of your religious beliefs? That's what you started with?
I think so. I think it has a lot to do with that, Dr. Hunt, because I don't know what else I did to her.
Does she
time.
hold on. Does she share your religious beliefs?
No.
Okay, so
she does
not.
not.
Now what are
she
your
has her
religious
own
beliefs? What are yours?
Well, me, I believe in God. I believe that, he, once we're saved, that, we obey because we love him, right? So
okay.
I'm trying to
so
just do the will of God.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me share my religious beliefs about your religious beliefs.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If she doesn't share your faith, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this could really help you. This could make this a lot easier. If she doesn't share your faith, are you a Bible believing Christian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So about the things like that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
there are many, many, many places in the Bible where it basically says if she doesn't share our faith, and I'll say our faith because I share the one you do. Okay, I don't have the same. Well, it's a different topic, but if she doesn't share our faith, then what the Bible tells us is we can't judge what she's doing. We can't put those requirements on her. Like if you go to 1 Corinthians 5, for example, it says, "I told you to, be careful not to associate with, with all these kinds of people that do all this stuff." He said, "I didn't at all mean people not of the
Mm-hmm.
faith." He said, "Or you'd have to leave the world." He said, I meant people inside the church. So you want to talk to them about their behavior and how it conforms. That's fine. It's like, we're all in the same family here. We're the same parent. But it says if somebody's doesn't share our faith, that he says we have no business judging them. 1 Corinthians 5, you can go read it. Go to Romans 13 and 14 ish, maybe part of it, but right in there. When it's talking about drinking, for example, it says that you can make up your own mind about this. Some people do, some people don't. It's permissible within the faith, but you've got your conviction. I respect that. But then it says on that one, and then matters like this, he says, keep it to yourself. So I think I can make this one pretty easy for you, that these aren't the most important things in your relationship with your daughter. Those are private, really, as the scriptures say, between you and God, and you're totally, it's fine for you not to drink. It's fine for other people to drink if they do it responsibly according to the New Testament. But what's not okay is for us to try to legislate that for someone else. So I think that might help if you could just say, you know what, you're right. If you want to drink, if you want to, that's fine. It's really none of my business. Now let's talk about our granddaughter. Does that make sense?
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, Dr. Claude, but what I just want to, I guess I didn't clarify with you. I never told
Maybe
her
not.
she couldn't drink. I told her, because it was her beliefs, her choice, and I was going to respect that. What happened was that she was trying to get me to bow down to mine and just do, what she wanted me to do. For example, like when she graduated from the Navy, she wanted to go out and we wanted to celebrate. I said, okay, fine, And she was all like, well, you drink, something with me. And I said, no, sweetie. I said, but I'll go and celebrate it with you. Yeah. Okay, she got upset. She got so upset that she wanted to throw me out of the car. And she saw it as me rejecting her. But I wasn't rejecting her. I was just holding on to my standards of belief. So
that's different.
What's going on right now is...
So give me the question then. What is the question?
Okay, so the question is, look, I'm not pushing anything on her. Okay, I have my, like when you come to my house, okay, I have whatever I would like you to respect, and I respect her house. Okay, she wants to have all stuff going on. That's her life. My question is this, okay, is that she is claiming that I'm controlling, but I just finished telling you, since she left high school, I stopped, but it's not enough because she is still upset of what I had standards on when I told her I didn't want to stay at her house because of that. And she got upset and threw me out. Okay.
You didn't want to stay at her house. You didn't want to stay at her house. Why?
Because she was there with her boyfriend. And I told her from the beginning, I'd rather go get a hotel. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your house. Okay.
Because she's there with her boyfriend. Okay, I got it.
She's living with her boyfriend. She's living with her boyfriend. Okay.
I understand that. I totally understand that. But why?
Well, why not? Why don't I want to sleep there?
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was saying it was okay.
You're not saying it's okay.
That's the way they look at it.
I understand that, but you're not saying it's okay. I mean, if you're talking about,
but they see it as that.
You don't think she thinks that? You don't think she knows that you think that that's not okay? You've told her that. You've told her. You've made your stand. See, here's what I want you to think about. You can continue to make these stands that don't matter to her because she's not of your faith. Okay? And you can make these stands and you can ultimately be separated from her. But if you look at let's talk about our faith, you look at how Jesus did it. He went and hung out with prostitutes, with partiers, with people that stole money through the tax exchange system, with all of these people, and other people said, how can you hang out with them? They judged that. But he said, I'm going to go love them. I'm going to love them right where they are. I'm going to establish, I care more about their relationship than judging them. And I'm just saying, you might want to look at that. Because as long as your standards become the divider between the two of you, when she doesn't hold on to those standards, you guys are in a log jam. But what you could do is find something that you have in common, which is you're a mother and a daughter. And how can we come together and get to know each other? I want to understand you and your view of the world, not judge it. But
that's what I'm saying. I stopped doing that after she left high school. I don't tell her what to do. I don't.
I know, but I'm telling you, I'm giving you feedback on what it sounds like to me. You're not telling her what to do, but when you go into her house and say, I can't stay here because you're sleeping with your boyfriend, like you're going to somehow be tainted by it, or you feel like that's condoning it.
I just felt like I was condoning it. I felt like, I was okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I'm
telling you, I don't think that's true. I think you're clear that you have different standards, but it doesn't mean you can't be around her. I'm just saying.
No, I can be around her. I have been around her.
You just said you had to leave. Okay. You just told me.
Oh no, yeah, that night, it became that night was a big mess.
I gotta run.
Either way, yeah.
What did you have another specific question?
The thing is that I personally told her, because we were fighting back and forth, and I just told her that pretty much she made it seem like she was really upset with me, and no matter what I try to say to her, which had nothing to do with my beliefs. It was just trying to, see my granddaughter. She was like telling me all this stuff from who knows when that, was never dealt with.
And I'm telling you,
I just wanted to see my granddaughter.
And you've never dealt with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you.
No, because
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that, I'm trying to deal with it. Like, I'm trying to talk to her and say,
okay, stop.
Let
me give you a suggestion about how to deal with it. Okay. I would go to her and say, we keep going around in a circle here and we keep having a log jam. And it makes me feel like maybe there's something I really don't understand about how you feel hurt by me. And I'd like to know more about that, because you keep saying the way I've treated you and this and the other, maybe I haven't really understood it. So maybe we need to go to a counselor together, but I really want to understand where your hurt is. That's what I would suggest, because you're in a logjam. You're not going to talk her out of it. You may be able to listen to it to a place where she finally can listen to you. That would be my suggestion. Lay down, you're having a tug of war. Best way to not have a tug of war is to lay down the rope. And go to her and say, I want a relationship with you. I understand that you're mad at me. You think I've hurt you. I just want to understand more about how. And let's see if we can get to a good place. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and do that.
Try it. You might need a counselor to help you with it too, because I've got a lot of tension there. I understand your convictions, respect your convictions. You might have to let them not be the most important thing in the conversation. Most important conversation is to get to her heart and see if she can soften, if she starts from a place where she feels like she's being understood. She sounds tough. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. She sounds really reactive and tough and argumentative and blamey and vindictive and even in ways. So I'm not saying this is going to be easy, but I am saying that's where I would start. Okay?
Okay, I will do that.
All righty. And get some help. Get a counselor to help you with it. A lot of times there's ways in which the biggest chasms, you see people going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the biggest chasms sometimes can just be like just totally like quickly melted by just a question like, it seems like you feel like I've really hurt you. And I don't want to do that, but I do want to understand how. Can you tell me? Can you help me understand? And then just have no agenda other than trying to understand. And maybe we can walk away from several meetings like, well, okay, that helped me further understand today. Not coming back, not talking them out of it, not trying to fix them. And I'm talking about with very, very difficult people sometimes. Now, other times after you've done that forever, then sometimes we have to, we have a boundary, we have a limit. We have to say, well, I think I've understood, but, I can't sit here as long as you're married. Go back to the previous caller. As long as you're screaming at me, telling me how to drive, I can't, we can't talk. So sometimes we have to have limits and say, I'm done talking, but usually not until we've really listened first. Hard thing to do, but very, very important. So let's go back to the phones. Where are we here? Jennifer? Yeah, Jennifer, who's calling us from Akron, Ohio. Jennifer, welcome to the Dr. Cloud Show. Nope, we lost Jennifer. Okay, let's see. Let's go to I'm trying to look at my list here. Help me, Albie. I can't get everybody organized here. Let's go to Rita. Rita's calling us from South Carolina. It's a state that I get to visit every now and then because I have a have a daughter at
Hi,
Clemson.
Dr. Cloud.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you a Tigers fan?
Not necessarily. I'm
Not
pretty close
necessarily.
to the North Carolina line, so.
Oh, we're starting off in a rough path here. But anyway, I still love you. Go ahead.
So
So,
I caught your show earlier when you were talking about the husband and wife relationship that kind of turns into a parent-child.
yeah.
And some of those things sounded really familiar.
Yeah.
And my husband and I are recovering from a spat with infidelity and trying to rebuild our relationship.
Wait a minute. Say it again. You kind of went out on me. You're recovering from what?
Some infidelity.
Infidelity. On his part or your part?
Yeah. His part.
His part. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of blame. And it's mostly me being critical and not understanding, and we're kind of at an impasse at this point because we can't really connect. Like, he's not ready to let go of the anger and hurt. But
wait a minute. He's angry and hurt at you?
Yes.
Because he feels like you're critical?
Yes.
Okay. And what does he feel like you're criticizing him about?
It can be any little thing. Like you said, it's like, could you pick your stuff off the floor? Could you come home a little earlier in the day? Just anything.
Yeah.
And admittedly, I felt like I have to kind of walk on eggshells to avoid setting him off. But he can almost barely be around me at this point because I feel like every time he looks at me, that's all he sees. And I have tried to change my behavior. I've apologized a million times, even though I'm very hurt by his response to my behavior, and tried to be very forgiving. I just don't know what else to do.
Okay. Have you guys ever been in counseling together?
Yes. But he usually drops out, and he is not willing to participate in that.
So he's not willing to go back now at all?
No.
Okay. Then what you might want to try is to sit down with him and say, we've come through a lot, and we're still together, and I want to be together, and I want us to have a great relationship. Right now, it sounds like that you're really upset with me, and I'd like to know kind of how I can make that better. Help me make it better. Tell me what would make it better. And so what I'm trying to do there.
And his response is generally, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've got some time. I can sit here until you do know. What would help you know?
Okay.
What would help you figure it out?
Okay.
I would ask him. In other words, here's what you want to do. You want to engage him in helping him solve the problem of you. All right. So ultimately, what we're going to get to here is, so I know one of the things you feel is you feel like I'm always criticizing you. I don't want to do that. Can you tell me a good way? What would be a good way to ask you for something ask you for something that I need or ask you to do something, what would be a good way to say that to you where it doesn't feel critical? So what we're going to do is we're going to put the onus on him. He's griping about how you're doing it. Well, tell me how to do it better. And sometimes that will break through to where they start to realize, well, then you could just ask me and you go, okay, I did that, but I'm going to do it again. I'll do it again. And when I do it, tell me if that's what you're talking about. Then that causes them sometimes to go, wait a minute, I guess it is not unreasonable to ask me to throw my shirt in the hamper, But try to engage him in solving the problem and see where that goes. All right?
Thank you.
Okay. Good luck. Sometimes that critical view is hard to get over with, but if you engage him in how he wants to hear it, then he becomes responsible for utilizing it when you're saying it the way that he told you to say it. And that'll break it up at times. Okay. Thank you for your call. It's back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the show. So many times just our ears, how we hear things, are so much part of the problem. And then sometimes people are actually saying things that they're unaware of how they're saying it. I mean, sometimes when people feel criticized, they're not making that up. It does sound harsh. Okay? It is said in a not so helpful way. But it brings us back to the principle in any relationship, in any interaction. The first thing we have to do is ask the question, what of this conflict is my part? Because that's hopeful. If we're having a conflict and I can figure out if I have 5% of this, well, I can fix that. See, if it's mine, I got control of it. So if we're asking, what's my part in this conflict? If I can find the part that's mine, I can control that. I've immediately made it better by changing my own behavior. You get into a relationship and each person asks the question, first and foremost, what am I doing to contribute to our trouble? If both of them are asking that question instead of blaming you for our trouble, we got a partnership and a team that can climb any mountain, forge any sea. Is that the way the song goes? We can get there because we're each looking at what we can control, which is our own behavior. The problem is when we don't look at what we can control, which is our own behavior, and we're always harping on the other, working on our own views. So let's say, let me see, do we have time? We can go to one more call here. We have our international call of the day. Don is calling us from Belgium, way over across the pond. Don, welcome to the program.
Hello, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to talk with you.
Well, you get the award. You get the gold star, international caller of the day. Good to talk to you. So
yeah,
how can I help you?
I reside in Belgium. Okay, so I'm basically calling over a financial problem in my relationship. So my current financial situation is not very great. I have a small debt and I'm making enough, to get by. I can make a little bit more money at my job, which I'm aiming for, but I don't have all the financial means in the world. Now, I have a partner.
Did you say you have a small debt? Is that what you said?
Yes, a small debt.
So you're trying to pay off the debt before you spend money on other things. Is that what it is?
Well, yeah, the debt is kind of in installments. So I pay them €100 every month. So it's not that, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, it kind of weighs down on things a little bit as well. But the point of the matter is actually that I've been wed to to my wife, of course, and we've done that in secret. We actually did it in Pakistan on the 14th of February. It sounded like a very nice day, so that's when we got married. And we've done it in secret. We haven't told anyone so far yet. And yeah, now we are planning to move in together, of course. So, I have to clarify. I live in Belgium. She lives in Holland. It's about an hour drive. It's not that far, but it is a distance, of course. So we're looking for another place, to find. And now when it boils down to it, I ask her, of course,
but you guys are married. You are married.
Yes, we are married. Yes, that's true.
Okay.
So then, when it boils down to it, when we want to move into somewhere, I requested her to share some of the expenses. We have rent, we have bills, we have this, we have that, and to me that's a very reasonable request. But in her eyes, she tells me that because I am the man, I need to be paying for all of these things, and there is no wriggle room in that. When I tell her, look, I don't think it's fair, I don't think it's right, we should both be sharing the financial load that we both have, then she will tell me, no, you should do that, and that you are even asking me for paying something is a very shameless act. And then she blames me for not loving her and only using her for financial gains, which to me is absolutely ludicrous. But I can't explain her that that's not the reason. I'm just trying to find, a way forward for both of us that works for us, because I also, have things that I want to do with money, and if I'm the only one spending it, of course I'm not going to have very much of it. So that's kind of the pickle that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Do you guys have, so when you got married or anything, did you have a pastor or premarital counseling or anything to talk about how your relationship is going to be structured, or any issues like that? Do you have anybody you talk to?
No, not really. The pastor that we used there was very hard to come by because Pakistan is a Islamic country and there's a very small minority that's Christian, and I could not, I could not communicate with the man even. So no, we had no prior counseling or anything like that. It was it was kind of in the spur of the moment kind of thing, and now I'm here. So
okay. Here's what I would here's kind of where I would start. I think what you got to get to, and you hit on this, and you sort of mentioned it. She equates somehow the finances with love, right?
Yes.
And I would want to get into a conversation with her about, tell me how, like, why does it feel that way to you? Where does love, why does money equal love? Because actually that's kind of what she's accusing you of in a weird way. So
yes, well, it's so, sorry to interrupt you, but I want to get this out there. It's not just money. It's like I've watched a few of your videos, and it's like my resources, my energy, my time, everything equates to love to her. All of the resources that I have, including financial resources.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Now we're into what matters. Okay, what I would want to do is have a conversation with her about kind of, let's talk about the big picture of our relationship. Okay. Now I'm going to suggest a book to you that I wrote with John Townsend called Boundaries in Marriage. Okay. And I would want to have a conversation with her, not about who pays what right now. I want to have a bigger conversation before we start to set up house and go on down our lives. Let's talk about the structure of a marriage. And I wish I had more time on this. We're out of time, so I'm going to have to leave you with this thought. But in a marriage, there are always three stakeholders. Okay. There's the relationship, the marriage itself, and then there's the two parties. There's the husband and the wife. All right. Our being together, like you're saying, everything, time, money, resources, energy, physical space within a house, all of it. We have a fixed amount of all of that. And we've got to allocate from the budget of time and resources and this, that, and the other. We've got to allocate to the three stakeholders. And the most important stakeholder is the marriage and the relationship. So, for example, or the family. I'll give you a great example of this. With my family, I travel a lot. And when the girls were at different ages, all of this would change. But I would sit down with the family and say, okay, let's look at my calendar this year. And how many nights away from home feels kind of okay? How many where does it start to feel like, where's dad? And where does it start to get problematic? Different ages, what the girls would say, 3 or 4 nights a month or 5 nights, we're all out doing that doesn't, but if it gets much more than that, it starts to feel like, and so what we were saying was of the time, the family, the marriage comes first and they get out of our budget, we got to fill that responsibility first. And then I say, well, you know what? I want some days for me to play golf, right? And then my wife says, well, I want some days for me over here. But what y'all got to figure out is in the pile of what we have, this is how much money we have. Okay. This is how much time we have. Let's make sure that everyone's needs are getting met. Now, when you do that, what you're going to find is the relationship, and ultimately, sorry, I got to run after this because we're out of time. But if you look at that and you start to say, okay, for our relationship, what do we need, right? Well, we need food and we need this and we need a house and we need all of that. We need time together. Okay, how much time, how much money is going to go into that from all of our resources? And then let's talk about how much is going to be spent on you and how much is going to be spent on me. And we start to look at it in the big picture, then everybody can come to the feeding trough, if you will, and they can get what they need, including the marriage. But if you've never talked about it in the big picture and what each part needs, what each stakeholder needs, then you're going to argue over every particular. And I really like it when couples come together and say, this is his money that he gets to spend, and this is her money, and this is our money. And by the way, in large part, and I would tell this to your wife, in large part, when the two become one, and that's the design of marriage, then the two become one, and all the finances and everything, they should all be thrown in together, and then we divvy up according to the stakeholders and the primary, purpose of our marriage. And I think when you do a his and hers thing, then you're starting out kind of with a division and trying to create unity out of a division instead of this is ours. How are we going to use what is ours to, first of all, service us, the most important relationship, which is the marriage, and then secondly, serve the individuals. That's how I would want to appropriate it. And also, I would want to get into a conversation with her about why does it feel like I don't love you if I take some time for myself? Or why does it feel like I don't love you if I don't take all of the money and just try to understand where that comes from? Because that's coming from somewhere that has deep meaning to her. And I think you gotta get to that and resolve it. Okay. My unfavorite time of the day, which is when our program ends, and I don't get to talk to you guys anymore. But we will be back on Monday. I hope you have a great weekend. I don't think I mentioned during the show, I always want to remind everybody, please, please, please go to boundaries.me. Go check out all the stuff that we're doing there and all the different topics. And there's it's like all of everything we talk about, it's sort of like a Netflix with me. There's 70 something courses on there, all of these different topics where you can go learn lots of stuff and maybe even join a group there. And go check it out, boundaries.me, for a deeper education on what we talk about on the program. And also, thank you for sharing the show with your friends. Please continue to do that. Like I said, don't know how long lockdown is going to happen. I really want to continue this after lockdown. So we got to be building an audience for that to be able to happen. So please, please, please share the program. Until then, remember what we started with, which is let's clean up our vision a little bit. Let's go to our loved ones and say, am I seeing you correctly? Into you see, intimacy, intimacy. Am I seeing into you? Am I seeing the real person? Or am I operating according to my own assumptions? Let's try that. Let's get to know each other better. Let's get to know the real person on either side of the table. Good things happen most times when we do that. Be curious, not judgmental. Okay. God bless you guys. I'll see you on Monday. Bye bye.